black box. I feel like due diligence to a lot of founders is the black box, like what's inside, we don't know. So let's just get into this one. This is a great slide too.
Perfect. And yeah, so after you've got your terms nailed down with your investors, you've got a term sheet. We know the path to closing. We know the terms everybody's going to get. We know the valuation. Everybody's excited about that. Everybody's on board, thinks it's the right way to go. Before you can get that money, investors need to go through this process of just checking the boxes to make sure you are what you've told them you are.
Mm-hmm.
Too many times investors have invested in a company only to find out their actual MRR is not what they were told in the pitch deck. Mm-hmm. Or, your debt is a lot higher than they realized. You kind of swept that under the rug when you were talking to them, and then they realize that you've got a lot of leverage on your company that makes the company maybe a little less attractive. They need to check those boxes to make sure that isn't the case. Now, in most of the cases, it's not. Most of the time, your company is fine. But that is what due diligence is. Mm-hmm. That is making sure that you are an investable company. You're not a dumpster fire. And mm-hmm. that's what they want to check the boxes for. So with due diligence, I'm not gonna dive into again, due diligence 101 is a different conversation. That's a whole other conversation of what are investors looking for. I will give you the brief high-level overview. There are kind of three types of due diligence. There is business diligence. This is, what does your company do? What's your business plan? What are your projections? What's your market size? What's your team look like? That usually happens before you even get a term sheet. Yeah. So that box is usually checked before the terms have even been decided on. The next is financial diligence. So show us your financial statements. Mm-hmm. We want to dive into your assets versus liabilities, look at your revenue, look at your growth, look at your burn rate, your et cetera. So all those financial metrics. That is, again, something that often happens while the terms are being negotiated. So they like the business diligence has checked the boxes. Now they're talking terms with you. This usually happens in conjunction with discussion of terms because the valuation often is tied to your financial metrics. And so this also happens. Financial due diligence is pretty simple. It's share all of your financial statements with us and let us just go over them. And so that happens pretty high level. The last type of due diligence is the one that takes the most time. It is also one that often derails deals. This is legal due diligence. This is where they're going to ask for, show us all of your organizational documents, your bylaws, your charter, what states have you filed in. Mm-hmm. Show us all of your governance, your board and stockholder consents, your, who's on your board, who's on your cap table, your equity, your cap table. What does all that look like? What do your vesting schedules look like? Lastly, customer documents. What do customers sign? What are your website terms of service, your privacy policy? So that suite of customer-facing legal documents, what does that look like? And then lastly, IP, intellectual property. Do you have trademarks? Do you have patents? So they're going to ask for these legal documents. You need to share those with them. Their law firm's going to go dive through them. They're going to come back to you and say, hey, these things are missing. And your law firm's going to come to you and say, hey, we need to track these things down.
Yeah.
You're going to go through this big kind of revolving door of share information with your law firm. They share it with investors' law firm. Law firm tells you what's missing. You share it with your law firm. They share it with investors' law firm. They tell you what's missing again. And it goes round and around until the investors' law firm gives you the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Now, that is traditional model. You can't really avoid due diligence. You're going to have lawyers needing to look at your legal documents. There's no avoiding that, whether you're doing a traditional round or an agile round. Yeah. The difference for us is preparing, how you prepare for that due diligence event. Knowing that due diligence event is going to come, what can you do beforehand to make it more streamlined?
Yeah.
And how do you make that data review experience a little bit simpler? So the traditional route is you engage a law firm for a financing. You maybe pre-term sheet or when the term sheet's about to get signed. You call up your law firm and say, hey, financing is in the works. We need to get going here. That law firm is going to say, okay, share your data room with me. And what they're saying is, give me all of the PDFs of signed legal documents that you have around all of these different topics that we talked about. They're going to actually share a big list of 30 things that you need to answer and documents you need to give them. You give it to your law firm. They're going to put it into their own data room. A data room is just an online box or Google Drive or Dropbox, some version of that allows you to share documents. And then they're going to send it over to the investor's law firm. So data transfer happens, it's going around this revolving door.
Yeah.
For the Agile approach, if you want the due diligence to be streamlined, you need to have your data room organized beforehand. So you are the one that manages it. You're not if your law firm comes to you and says, hey, give us your data room, you're going to say, our data room's here, but you don't need to set it up again. It's already ready. It's already ready to share. We've got everything in there. So you are the one that's owning and maintaining your data room, and it's all organized and ready to go. It's online. It's aligned with your cap table. Everything, is set up and ready to go. And it's easy to share. What we like to call it an evergreen data room, meaning you're always ready to share this. And that's why it's important to the Agile approach that you have an evergreen data room, because you have these investors who at different times may ask for different things. Some investors will want the full due diligence checklist, all these 20 or 30 questions answered, all the documents over so our lawyers can review it. Some investors may just say, show us your bylaws, your charter, your cap table.
Yeah.
And, we need to know that, but, it's a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more dialed back in terms of what they're looking for. Being able to have different rooms set up for different types of investors, very important.
So you talk about the different investors, and I think that's something that's also really important to just clarify and hone in a little bit there is, what are the typical investors that would be looking for traditional, and then who are the investors that might be, Agile is what are those differences? Who kind of fit one, or is it a mix?
There's a mix. And so typically in a traditional round, we've talked about this, you have a lead investor who's going to fill out most of the round. That lead investor is a VC fund who is going to require the full due diligence breakdown. They're going to need to see everything and check all of the boxes. You're filling out that round with other VCs that are just kind of piggybacking on the lead investor's diligence.
Following their diligence, kind of trusting it.
Yeah,
okay,
they're trusting the lead investor.
Cool.
Exactly. They're basically just going to say, we just need to see the cap table and your organizational documents just to confirm everything, checks out.
Yeah.
But we're not going to need to see everything else. We don't need to see all of your employment documents and all of these other things. So there's one lead investor who looks at that. Now, angel investors who are putting in $25, $50, $100,000, or maybe even $200,000, $250,000, they're just going to ask for kind of, hey, show me a cap table. Okay, looks good. They're not going to ask for a whole lot.
Yeah.
With the Agile approach, because you're typically raising smaller amounts, even if you are raising from a VC who often is a lead fund, they're seeing this as, especially in a pre-seed, a seed, or a seed plus round that you're filling out with a lot of folks, they're not going to be putting in enough money to really justify a full due diligence. And so even then, a lead VC fund may say, we don't need to do the full due diligence, dial down and look at the weeds. At that point in an Agile round, because you're raising smaller amounts, a lot of times all the investors end up being okay with a little bit more scaled back approach. So it depends on the type of round, what they're going to be looking for.
And knowing that it could vary. And that's where it's up to you as a founder to know who you're talking to, know who those conversations are progressing with. This is also a great opportunity for you to do due diligence with them too, because maybe you don't want to get into like full due diligence right now. It's going to become too much time for the round you want to close. And so it might rearrange or shuffle your priorities of which investors you want to spend the most time working with or going after. So use it as a reverse opportunity too, right? This is somebody that's going to be on your team, you want to work with. You do due diligence on them too. Ask the VCs, like, hey, what is your due diligence process? That's okay to ask. It's good to ask. So at least okay, if I continued along this negotiating route with them, am I going to end up in a spot that I want to be in? Or do I just want to, now that I know, hey, it's going to be a lot easier to just do 10 angels and close the here. You need to know this information because it is two very different things and paths for what you need to prepare. So if right now you're like, hey, we have so much traction with our company, I need to stay focused on sales. I can't be spending a lot of time. Our data room is not all 30 items yet. And it's going to take me time to get that 30, get that ready. Know where you are in your due diligence. We always say it's ongoing. It's like some people say a living document. However you keep track of that. I think Savvi, of course, today had some exciting things to share with us to help this part. But if you do little bits at a time, it's like, then you don't have to, if you clean your room every week, right? Then when the holidays come,
exactly.
over, your house
that's a great analogy. That is a great analogy.
This helps a lot. I think it gives a lot of sense about due diligence. It's all directions. It's just like everybody, checking the I, well, it's actually dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but it's also getting to know the people you're going to work with. How do they like? What's their comfort levels? What are their expectations? I mean, there's like a human component to due diligence that I always like to remind founders of, right? Because deals can fall through even if you have all 30 documents, but you were a pain in the butt to deal with. And you might not want to take an investor who ends up, like, I didn't like the way we went back and forth on this. Due diligence also, don't forget there's a human on the other side. And, you want to form a healthy, good relationship and not just money. These are people that you are going to be continuing to communicate with. So as a founder, have that confidence and that comfort with it's both ways. And it's like, hey, just getting to know someone like a good friend, you're kind of going from like peers to actually becoming friends, and you want to have a good relationship with these people. So just know, like, watch those things, those human elements, how you conduct yourself. You're treating people that you want to be treated. They're hopefully treating you the way you want to be treated, because this is the beginning. This is like setting the tone. It's not like, hey, we got to do this and we're done and I'm never going to deal with them again. It's like, no. This is setting kind of the rules for how we're going to be working together. So that's kind of a human insight to the due diligence I just want to remind everybody about. But yeah, the more prepared you can be and the easier you can make it, what a better way to start that relationship. You're going to exceed their expectations, which is why we're excited to have you here, Dan, because you're going to tell us more in a little bit about how we can like exceed those expectations and make those early relationship experiences with our investors like really strong from the start.
Absolutely. That is part of what we do at Savvi Legal is we provide a legal technology platform that allows you to organize your data room, keep it up to date, make it very easy to share. So we're excited to share more about that. One thing I will mention on the due diligence side is this is where a lot of the transaction costs come in a financing. Because of the revolving door of having to go to your law firm to gather information, the investor's law firm going through that information, you basically have two law firms reviewing every legal document that you're sharing and going back and forth. And keep in mind, law firms bill by the hour, and they are having their associates and their paralegals diving into your data room to look at every document as a way to make money. It may not even be necessary from an actual legal risk scenario, but this is how law firms make money. These events, these transactions are where they make money, and they're trying to make money off of you. Keep in mind that you as a company are often, especially in the traditional model, less often, but still sometimes in the Agile model, you are responsible for the investor's legal fees. So any work that the investor's law firm is doing, you are paying after the round closes. They will send you the invoice and you will pay the investor's law firm. So the more you can make this process streamlined, you're
the more
getting
investment
double.
you have to actually put into growing the company because you're not paying
Exactly.
bills.
That is money that's not in the law firm's bank account. It's in your bank account. So the more you can save, the more prepared you can be. It's going to reduce the fees that you end up paying, both your law firm and the investor's law firm. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's the perfect point of those moments that we don't anticipate. We might project legal costs to be this, but if we get to this round the door, situation in and out, that's how the legal fees may double what our expected was. This is how those rounds earlier, as we were mentioning, often we don't raise enough. It's because of things like this. You're kind of learning as you go. And so having like this workshop, thinking about, again, strategically, how to avoid these pitfalls, how to be ready. This is going to, extend runway. It's going to improve relationship with the teams. It's going to, so many things come out of this. It's not just a transaction. It really is. It affects so much more. And I think this is just such a great workshop for everybody to rewatch, go through as many times, share with your fellow co-founders, get each other on the same page, hash it out with each other. You're not going to necessarily bill each other as co-founders to have these discussions. But the more you guys can really think about this on your end before you get a law firm involved, is going to save you money for sure.
Savvi, we partner with WeTransact to give you guys a number of tools and services to make your lives as founders easier and better throughout your venture's life cycle, from formation to fundraising, even to exit. And so we offer a number of tools on a SaaS platform that you get to take advantage of in a DIY. You get to access it and use it as much as you want or need. I'll show you what some of those tools are, or I'll talk about them. And then we also offer services in conjunction with those tools that you can take advantage of as well. And I'll explain some of what those are shortly. So we have a number of different products. We have Savvi Go, Savvi Raise, and Savvi Exit. These are packages of tools that you access on a SaaS platform that you can use depending on the stage of your company. So if you are just starting out, at a pre-seed level, we have a number of services that you can take advantage of depending on what you're needing. We have subscriptions that you can use. And these services are, your entity formation, getting your org documents set up, getting your entity filed with different states, getting bank accounts set up, getting your founder documents set up, your cap table set up, your option pool set up. This is all stuff we label as, hey, you need to do this pre-fundraising. This is basic foundational stuff for your company, and we want to give this to you as easy and as cheap as possible. You can get access to our tools through a subscription on Savvi. We also have add-on services. So if you have questions about, well, what if I want to be an LLC or a C Corp? Which of those is best? Why should I be a Delaware corporation if I'm going to be raising money? What if I'm already an LLC and need to convert it to a corporation? We have add-on services that we can give you quotes for to help provide those. If you actually want to hop on a call with an attorney and get that counsel and hand-holding or a white glove experience, we can provide those services as well.
Yeah.
We'll share how you can schedule with our team to talk about the pricing of that and what that looks like. Just a heads up, as a WeTransact company, if you sign up for a Savvi subscription, you also will get some credits towards some of these services, and we'll share what that looks like. And so that's a Savvi Go level.
Oh, that's
exciting.
Savvi, I didn't even know about that one, so I'm excited.
Yeah, there's some credits that you can take advantage of if you're a WeTransact company. So Savvi Raise is a bundle of tools and services that is meant for somebody who's raising money.
Awesome.
So we have a number of self-serve tools that you can get access to on our platform if you're on a subscription. So safes and convertible notes, everything from board consents to approve those financings, the term sheets that you would need to generate to share with the investors, the signature collection process. We have some due diligence reports that you can actually fill out to share with investors, so that you don't have to go through a law firm to answer all those questions. You can go through our diligence report process and share it with the investors directly, to skip over all of those transaction fees that firms charge you to develop a diligence report. You'll have the ability to generate data rooms for your investors and share those data rooms with investors for ongoing reporting. One thing I'll mention is we have a library of templates, templates for employee onboarding, equity agreements, board and stockholder consents, all these things that you want to be able to do. We have a library of templates. We call them workflows, and you'll get access to that on our platform depending on what you're looking to do. If you have a very custom document, we may not have a template for it, but we could automate it for you. So there's some customization that we can do. Those roll-up vehicles, the SPVs that we talked about, we have workflows for you to be able to set those up as well and have investors invest through an SPV. And then on the service side, we have counsel, paralegals who can provide financing counsel and financing admin services. We are a fraction of the cost for compared to your standard law firm. So we work with financing counsel partners who work under the Savvi model, meaning they're going to use the platform to streamline signature collection, data rooms. They're not going to be churning billable hours on your financing. If you engage with our partner law firms, you're going to get an efficient and effective financing experience. We have ongoing paralegal subscriptions as well for folks who, hey, I don't want to maintain my cap table, or I need somebody to help me maintain my cap table. That ongoing, what we call corporate compliance, you can have a paralegal that's at a subscription price to be able to do that sort of things. So we have a number of services to go with your financing along with the SaaS tools.
Yeah.
And we will share with WeTransact kind of some demos that they can put out there so that you can go and see what the Savvi platform looks like and how to use it.
Yeah.
But that is what Savvi offers. We want to make that available to the WeTransact companies. We are offering up to $1,200 in credit. Depending on your subscriptions that you get on, that credit may be lower. It could even be higher, and depending on what services you're looking to do. So this is actually, it says here you need to schedule a call by December 31st. This is actually an open offer for WeTransact companies. So regardless of when you have your financing coming down the road, you can schedule with our onboarding team. So this QR code takes you to a calendar link if you want to just scan that. Otherwise, you'll be able to contact our onboarding team to talk about the pricing, the price points, the different services, what that looks like, and the WeTransact site you'll be able to access that contact information through the site. So that's it for our high level overview of what you get as a WeTransact company through the Savvi partnership. So hopefully that's been helpful.
Yes, my goodness, it's more than helpful. I mean, this is exciting because one thing we loved from the first time we met with your team was you really understand startups and entrepreneurs, and that's not always something every law firm has a specialty in, and that is something here. As your experience as a founder, you could really empathize. You've really understood all the kind of danger points, the red flag points, all the areas that could be improved, and what you've developed with Savvi and your team is fantastic, because it's like you're wearing both hats. You're able to say, hey, this would be a lot better for the founder. This is what's affordable at this stage. And, understanding that there's a lot that a resourceful founder can do on their own. And having a SaaS that starts you on the right path hopefully helps you avoid those pitfalls, and then growing with you and really being able to have a SaaS product, because not all founders, I think, get the legal advice they need at the moment they need it most. It's knowing the information before you need it. It's but having these strategies so that you don't end up at a place where you gotta pay to get out of, so to speak. It was more costly than
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's exactly it. So hopefully we can get you guys what you need, and we'd love to talk to you, even just to explore what you're looking for, see if we can get you what you need. So thanks everybody for your time.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful having you on. We'll break it all up. We'll make sure everybody has everything. There's going to be a lot of resources coming along the way. As Dan and his team have updates, we'll be sure to post that as well. And thank you, Dan, so much for taking your time to really go through this and answer a lot of the questions that founders are probably needing to ask right now as they plan for their raise.
No problem. Thank you.
Have a good one. Thank you.